So here's an interesting thing I also like to share. It's like the different ways you work with different partners at different sizes. So if you work with, the three guys in a garage, it's very different contractual work than if you work with the 500,000 employee company from Michigan, right? So those large companies, they have their own systems. They don't want your paperwork. They send you theirs, right? If you work with a small company, that's like, whatever, send me what you got, then I give it to my legal advisor, and then we go through. So usually what we do, and I'm curious how it's for you, but usually we have 3 documents we have to go through to start working with a company. First is a non-disclosure agreement, naturally, even though I think we should have one with everybody by now. The second is, we call it a master service agreement, which is like a document written by a lawyer for a lawyer, which is just like, okay, we are registered in Nevada, you're registered in Idaho, right? And this is our like company style or whatever it is. And then the most important actually is we call it the statement of work. And the statement of work states what we are delivering and what they are paying for it, and the timeline for it. So if you work with larger companies, they want a purchase order.
Right.
And so they write you what you deliver, and they write you the conditions, and then you have to invoice, in both cases actually. But it's a little different, right? So you invoice versus a purchase order, maybe through a proprietary system. And I'm curious to hear stories from your side.
Yeah, so I take a slightly different approach. So I basically have 2 docs, NDA, and a 1-page consulting agreement that is really straightforward to read, and it basically says, I'll do work, you pay for it. If I can't do work, you don't have to pay.
Cool.
Basically, you
and the timing, I guess, as well. Right?
Yeah. Usually, like for the specs and timing, I get everything from dot points on a text message. Of like, hey, we need a little module that does 1, 2, 3, 4, all the way to here's a formal doc that takes a number of weeks for the company to produce. Usually, though. Usually the companies want products done pretty quick, who I'm working with, and so they're totally fine with a quick call.
So what's the size of the companies you're working with, or is it like every possible size?
Depends. Yeah, it depends. Like I've engaged with some larger OEMs, but their timelines are just so stretched out that it comes to a trade-off of like, okay, how much are you willing to pay for this product? Smaller companies, like basically you've got a group of 2, 3, 5, 10 folks, and let's say they're very high up, they've hired up for firmware, they don't have much of a hardware angle, and they need a product in 2 months for demo day or to show investors.
No, absolutely.
And they can't hire, they don't know where to turn to hire. They don't want to spend the time to do all this hiring work. They want to spend money on someone they can trust, someone that they know that can deliver on time.
And they don't want to spend too much time on paperwork, right?
Or, just setting up software and tools takes a month. And so we have all that defined. I've got a bunch of automation on the design side and on the software side to bring boards up really fast. And so, I regularly hit 8 to 12 weeks for a board.
So you're literally like a firefighter, right? So you come in, you solve a problem, and you're back out.
And throughout my career, I have done really well at that.
And another thing we discussed, and I'm curious how you do this. So we see some customers, especially larger customers, they want to have a package deal. They don't want an hourly rate.
Right.
It's like, it's easier for me in accounting to say I have to. I have like 2, 3 work packages with just making up a number, $10,000 each. Don't break it down to the hour. And if you need to travel, include that there somewhere, right?
Right.
It's easier for them. I still count my hours because I want to be, real with my invoice.
Right.
But a third thing just emerged is like the flat rate deal. So we have developed services. They say like, okay, this will take approximately 4 weeks. So we charge you X $1,000 for it. If it takes 5 weeks, that's all right. If it takes 3 weeks, that's all right. We go through it together, right? And it's a new thing for us. to learn. It was like, okay, let's charge flat. You basically get an hour of my time with roughly this much per week. And then we see how much it actually is. Actually, we don't take notes. We take mental notes because we might have to change our pricing for the next deal.
Right.
But we'll see.
Right.
So are you usually by product or are you going by the hour?
So a fixed product cost that was a little inflated, but then the change requests were out of this world. Like if you got someone to design a product and this is on the hardware side, and then you wanted to go in and tweak a little bit, you'd be paying 20-50% over. So I charge per hour, and it's just hours worked. And if someone wants to come in and make a change during the process,
it's just adding to the hours, right?
And it's typically not much. Like it literally, like I've had a client, they had an OBC to design onboard charger and they wanted to change the power level, and it was 2 additional hours to make a pretty significant change through like during the design process, which typically, like if I was charging that per product and then tacking on a change request at the end, I could charge more, but that's not in the best interest of the companies. And that my goal is to have their interests in mind so that they're successful.
Right.
Like
But you have to pay your bills as well.
Yeah,
right?
I have to pay my bills too, but it's like I'm serving the client. The client's not serving me. Like I'm the one providing the service.
That's right.
And I think some of these larger consulting companies need to get back to that. Like you're serving your client, your customer. It's not their. They're not serving you.